please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Hi there, good morning. You're watching Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. Now, yesterday the Nifty ended with a gain of about 15 points. The Nifty Bank flattish at around 9 points. We have the weekly options expiry, but let's take a look at how the Asian markets are faring. Remember, on Wall Street yesterday, we saw some mixed sort of gains. The Nasdaq eked at record highs led by Amazon. But as we speak, the Japanese markets today are shut for the Labor Thanksgiving, as well as the Korean index is likely to open an hour later on account of a nationwide exam. So that one has opened with a cut of about 0.3%. We're getting early rates coming in from the Taiwanese as well as the Straits indices, even the Hang Seng, all of them mixed as we speak. What does that mean for our own markets? Well, the SGX Nifty should come up for you. That one's trading with a gain of about 10 points in the green.
Okay, well, Mangalam, let's now apprise our viewers of what's happening with the US markets. The Nasdaq Composite eked out a record close led by gains in Amazon. The S&P 500 and the Dow Jones, meanwhile, finished lower after the Fed Reserve expressed concern about the impact of the market's sharp rise on the economy in a summary of its previous meeting. CNBC's Hampton Pearson gets us a wrap of all what took place on Wall Street.
U.S. markets finishing mixed on this final trading day before the Thanksgiving holiday. The Dow falling 64 points, the S&P down nearly 2, the Nasdaq notching a record high close. The U.S. consumer is still largely bullish, but excitement levels cooled slightly this past month, consumer sentiment easing from its highest level since 2004. That data signaling consumer spending will rise 2.7% in 2018. This as unemployment has fallen to a 16-year low. Facebook users will soon be able to check if and when they followed accounts sponsored by Russia, as a way for the company to provide more transparency about Russian meddling in the 2016 election. The new portal will be live by the end of the year, according to the tech giant, and will show users which accounts were sponsored by the Internet Research Agency, a Russian-backed page. Hats off to the Boring Company after Elon Musk says the tunneling venture raised $300,000 just by selling branded baseball caps at $20 apiece. Musk saying the funding will go to, quote, more boring, as the company hopes to construct a massive series of transportation tunnels aimed at fighting traffic congestion. That's the action from the U.S. market. Back to you in Mumbai.
All right, let's take a look across the Atlantic in the European markets as well. All of them ended slightly under pressure as investors digested the latest UK budget announcements, where close to about £3 billion would be set aside for £300 billion rather. £3 billion would be set aside for the Brexit negotiations. At the same time, the GDP for UK was also cut down, the forecast from 2% to 1.5%. So that was weighing in as far as the FTSE is concerned. Despite that, we saw a mild bit of green out there. News coming in from the corporate earnings space, Thomas Cook, that one fell by about 8% after a weak set of numbers. The UK's FTSE eked out gains. The French index was down about 0.25%, but the biggest cut came in from the German DAX, down about 1.2%. Led lower by names like Volkswagen, which cooled off after yesterday's up move. We had Adidas and Lufthansa also contributing on the downside. But the street will be watching out for ECB minutes due later today. Last trading session back home on Dalal Street, the markets rebounded after slipping in early trade to end flattish with a gain of about 15 points. But below that 10,350 mark, the Sensex 2 ended about 0.2% in the green. What are the cues stacked up, or rather how the cues are stacked up for today? Well, Ekta, tell us.
Well, you know, Mangalam, yesterday the markets generally just consolidated, but the reason is that we've seen a strong run since the 15th of November. The Nifty is up around 2%, the mid-cap index has outperformed with a 3% gain, and we have the Bank Nifty which is up around 2%. But the underperformance compared to the globe continues. So, for example, week to date, the Nifty is up around 0.4%. Compare this to MSCI Asia ex-Japan, which is up 2%. Now, the Moody's upgrade, GST compliance increasing, it all provides a positive base. But I think the markets are still worried a little bit on the fringe about what's happening with crude prices, the Gujarat elections in the medium term as well. In terms of the liquidity gush, that continues. So the DIIs net bought over 800 crores yesterday, and they bought over 5,000 odd crores since the 15th of November. In terms of the US markets overnight, it was a mixed close, so nothing really to write home about. The Nasdaq was at a record high, but overall I expect a muted session today as well, simply because, you know, the global markets are not trading, Japan and US, on account of Thanksgiving weekend, so things are going to be lower in terms of the FII volumes. But if you're talking about back home, maybe the bankruptcy code and the ordinance is going to take precedence. But is it going to move the markets? It didn't move it yesterday, so it's unlikely to create a dramatic change today.
All right, Ekta, but stocks, what are the ones that you're watching out for today?
Well, Thomas Cook and Quess Corp, so both of those, because Thomas Cook has launched a 600 crore OFS. Godrej Consumer, they've passed on a price reduction on hair colors, air fresheners. Sources indicate on the ordinance on the bankruptcy code is likely to be effective tomorrow. Talwalkar, there's a tie-up with Mickey Mehta, which is going to be announced today. PM has reviewed the progress of 9 infra projects worth around 30,000 crores. Bank of India has got the SEBI nod for a QIP. Bharti Airtel, Tata Tele mobile customers are beginning to transition to the Bharti Airtel network. And Amazon's cloud is about to announce a huge healthcare deal with Cerner. It's no direct impact, but it just goes to show that, you know, that healthcare for Amazon is picking up pace. That segment is picking up pace for them. After an overhaul of the indirect tax regime, the government now wants to review India's direct tax law, which has been in force since 1961. The government constituted a 6-member task force to draft a new direct taxes law. The task force, which would be headed by the CBDT member Arvind Modi, Chief Economic Advisor Arvind Subramaniam, will be a permanent special invitee to the task force. We also spoke to 2 of the members who are part of the committee, Rajiv Memani and GC Srivastav. Let's listen in to what they had to say.
The last 2-3 years, there have been several attempts to reduce the areas of litigation. There's so many circulars, guidelines have already been issued, and I think that attempt would be carried forward in this work as well. The term of reference of this committee itself provides for taking into account the best international practices. So that is one of the key objectives.
I think it's a good move because there are lots of changes that are happening in the tax legislation around the world. And secondly, the present Income Tax Act, I think the government wants to align it with not only what's best in the world, but most importantly, which is suited and aligned to the economic needs of the country. So I think it will be a good attempt to actually see how how one can have a more contemporary act, and which not only promotes greater equity but also promotes greater ease of doing business.
Thomas Cook will be in focus. It plans to raise over 600 crores by divesting 5.4% stake in its subsidiary Quess Corp. Mangalam, take us through the details.
Absolutely. 600 crores at 5.2% stake is what they're looking to sell at 800 rupees per share. That is 12% lower than yesterday's close on Quess Corp. Remember, the reason why they're doing it is because SEBI regulations require promoters to bring down stake to 75%. As of last reported date, which was September, the promoters of 81.5% stake in Quess. Remember, after this, Thomas Cook's stake in Quess Corp itself will come down from 57% to 51.5%. Earlier in August, remember, there was a lot more dilution too, where Quess Corp itself raised about 1150 crores via QIP. So if you take a look at the promoter stake, it has been coming down right since the IPO. 88.95 is what it was in June 2017. And post this OFS, it will come down all the way up to 75.38. 75% is what SEBI's mandate says. Thomas Cook also came out with some statements. They said that they are committed to holding a controlling stake in the subsidiary Quess Corp, and they will use the 600 crores that they have to retire some debt and shore up their cash balances. So see some green on Thomas Cook, some technical adjustment on Quess Corp.